Hey everyone, welcome to another great episode of the Smooth Business Growth Podcast, where we share 15 minutes of fast-paced, pure marketing strategies proven to move the needle in your business. So I'm your host and Captain Lindsay Phillips. I'm the founder of Smooth Sailing Business Growth, where we help busy entrepreneurs attract and acquire customers faster through powerful and consistent content marketing. In fact, if you go to smoothbusinessgrowth.com, you can actually download your social media roadmap to help you do just that. But today we're going to talk about being lean and profitable. So we're chatting with Jason Burt, who works with business leaders to take a holistic view of their company and use the lean manufacturing strategy, actually developed by Toyota, which is pretty cool, to drive growth and profitability. No pun intended there, I might add. So let's learn how to get lean and profitable. So let's set sail. So welcome aboard, Jason.
Thank you very much, Lindsay. I appreciate it.
Awesome. So I know we were kind of talking off air, and, you know, as an entrepreneur, we go, and we're always moving ahead and investing in stuff. And sometimes we don't stop and think about what changes we need to make in our business. So can you explain sort of what lean consulting is, or what the lean strategy is, to kind of start off, and what that might mean to a business owner?
Yeah, so lean manufacturing, like you referenced, it came from Toyota. They really created the Toyota production system, which is turned into lean manufacturing here in the United States. And it's not just a manufacturing process. That's the terminology that's used, but it's used across many, many industries, service industries, manufacturing, hospitals, you name it. And essentially what it is it's creating a culture within a company that is focused on improvements every day, which is something that I think is a challenge for a lot of organizations. A lot of organizations, small, large, medium-sized companies, they get stuck doing what they're doing every day to, just get the product out the door, or just be able to make it through the day, that they don't have the time or the system that really drives them to improve. So lean manufacturing helps put a system in place and helps build that culture of improvement. I love that. And I was actually just talking about this to a friend of mine. It's like, you just get stuck in like the doing and, servicing your clients or whatever it may be, the grind, whatever you want to call it. And sometimes you need to get your head out of that so that you can move your business forward and improve things. And it always seems like, improvement is, when I have time. Well, that never happens. Yeah, definitely. I think, especially when we're talking about smaller businesses or, entrepreneurs that are doing startups, you're so focused on the doing side of things and getting things done. You don't, it's very difficult sometimes to focus on or to even think about what I just did. Could I have done it better? Yeah. Or was there a better process for, I've been, running ads on Facebook over and over and over again. Could I have done it better? Or, I'm reaching out to clients and sending emails. Was there a better way that I could have reached out and been more effective? You don't have time because you're wearing so many hats and you're trying to get everything done that trying to create that time to improve can be very difficult.
It totally is. And so what does the lean strategy, or how can that help us, or what are some reasons why we need to do that?
Well, the reasons are, obviously we all need to improve. And I think if we're just on the same treadmill running every day, then we're not, necessarily achieving what we want to as business owners. But I think one of the ways, and I know your audience is very much around, a lot of small businesses, and I wanted to kind of give them some things that maybe make sense for your audience. That I think with all the fact that we're doing, you don't have that team to rely on to say, hey, let's execute on this strategy. Let's do this. So one of the concepts, or one of the big pieces of lean manufacturing is using, they call it PDCA, or the scientific method, and being very structured in how when we do things, we test it to try and improve it. So PDCA just stands for Plan, Do, Check, Act. And like we said earlier, we're very focused on the do side of things as entrepreneurs, as small business owners. So taking some of your daily tasks that you do, especially the ones that are, repetitive, that you do a lot, that are core to your business, and trying to find ways to improve them while you're doing them.
Oh, okay.
So, because we don't necessarily have the time to say, I'm going to take 2 hours out of my day today to just try and improve this process. But if you're sending emails, to clients, or you're, making phone calls to clients, you can be consciously testing things by saying, okay, when I call this client, I'm going to read my script a little bit different, or I'm going to take a little bit of different approach with this one than the one I called before, and do some very simple testing to see what improves, which one works better, which is more effective. And I know that seems very basic, but we have to build improvement into our daily task. Because we don't simply have the time, or like I said, the team, if you're a large organization, to say, hey, go improve this area, go fix this. We have to figure out how to do it. Most entrepreneurs are already working, 10, 12, 15 hours a day. To add on more time to say, okay, I'm going to set some time aside to just improve isn't realistic a lot of times.
No.
So I think that's one approach, is to, take your daily task, and it looks different with every company, but, take your daily task and try and find a way to, how do I make it a little bit more effective?
Totally. I mean, even if you take, 15 minutes or an extra 10 minutes to kind of rejig whatever that is, and then, the next time you go in there, maybe you rejig it slightly more, and it's like, it just compounds.
That's right.
And at least you felt like you've taken action, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And a great example for that is, I'm trying to be very active on LinkedIn. I think that's one of the best social media platforms for me and for my client base, and where I think my customers are. So I post very frequently on there, and every time I post, I take a little bit different approach, and I'm trying to learn what works better, what gets more engagement, what gets, more people responding or liking, or what gains more followers, by taking, is it what video versus picture versus no picture, the way I'm writing the content, is it, very passive the way I'm writing it, or is it very, specific, just taking different approaches with each different post, and I'm learning what is more effective. So
nice. And I think being in the moment and actually observing what's going on, as opposed to just sometimes you're on autopilot.
Yes. Yeah. I think, that's the whole PDCA and I process. I would advise, some people going out and there's tons of content online that you can read about that, but it doesn't have to be a complex thing, but having a plan before you do it is important. It's hard to measure yourself after you already did the task.
Yeah.
So, some other things that I think are, good things that small business owners can grab onto that I know I personally feel a lot of times, and other people, other clients I've worked with, is many times our workload, we take it in very large batches.
Yeah.
And lean manufacturing, one of the things that we teach clients is how to take batch sizes smaller. A lot of times it's in reference to a product or manufacturing, but it also pertains to the way that we work, the way that we do things. So doing things, a little bit every day versus saying, oh my gosh, at the end of the month, I'm going to run all my invoices and I'm going to invoice the client, which we've all been in those types of situations. But it's, how do we get in that rhythm? Because it'll really relieve a lot of stress, and it'll start to show us where we're effective, where we're not effective, where we need help, where we don't need help. I started doing, I was very, very common for me to hold off on invoicing, which is the worst thing that you can do as an individual entrepreneur. But it was like the last thing that I always ended up doing, and I would wait and wait and wait. I'd do it all at once. I started doing a little bit every day, every time I could invoice a client, doing it. And I mean, now it's just second nature.
Yeah.
And once again, I know that's such a simple thing, but it's amazing how many business owners, we all do it. We all batch our activity. Oh my gosh, I know I need to write a blog. I'll write 10 of them all at once instead of doing, one, which is relevant to me this week that makes sense. I experienced it. I'm trying to make up topics and doing 10 at once. Right. So I think that leveling your workload throughout your day is a big part of creating that culture that's a sustainable, systematic, here's what I'm doing every day, and it'll start showing you opportunities for improvement as well. I love that. That's so true. Right. And for me, it's like, if you don't put it in your calendar, you're hooped. Oh yeah, definitely. My calendar, I've gotten to the point where I just live by it, and trying to break it into as small buckets as possible to try and manage my time. It's very important. So, one other thing I would say from a lean manufacturing standpoint, and it goes right along with the PDCA mindset, or testing and trying things. I see companies that will start it'll either be a new product or a new service that they want to add on for growth. And the amount of effort and time and money can be overwhelming to try and add on a new service or a new product. Right. And I think there's a great book out there called Lean Startup that talks about minimal viable product. And as smaller businesses, we're always trying to, how do we get to revenue generation as quickly as possible? Because we need to, right? We need to get there as quickly as possible. And they talk about minimal viable product. How do we test the market very quickly? If I'm, providing a new consulting service, how do I test it very quickly with my current customers, or get it out in front of them to get feedback and understanding and learning before I invest in redoing my website, I invest in any technology, I invest in any of those major things and all the time and effort into it? How do I very simply test it and get feedback? Because I may need to adjust 10 different times before it truly turns into a service or a product that's ready to generate revenue. So I think that whole minimal viable product approach can really help small startups or small businesses when they're trying to add on for growth. So what do you mean by minimal viable? So minimal viable product. So for example, if you're if we're making a product, instead of making the product as perfect, right, from an aesthetic standpoint, every bell, every whistle, I might make it just enough to meet the need for the customer, to test it and get feedback and see if I'm going down the right path. Gotcha. So in the R&D community, I used to work at a Herman Miller office furniture manufacturer. So how do we very quickly create this chair that that we know the look and feel? It may not be pretty at this point in time, but they'll test, the feel, the sit. How does it ride when you're sitting up to your desk? All the ergonomic side of it. They'll test all those things, many, many, many iterations along the way, to make sure they're going down that right path. Right. And I think that same concept can be applied to small businesses. If you have a new service that's coming out, totally. It may not seem big to other businesses, but it's a big undertaking for us as a small business owner, for me to update my website, to pay my web guy to create 3 new pages on a website for X service. It's a big deal. It's a big cost. So how do I get it in front of my current clients without having to do that, to test it? Right? How does this work? What do you think of this? So trying to do whatever possible to test that scientific method along the way as you're developing those new products or services. I like that. It's kind of like you're beta testing it with, your inside peeps, and then you just work out the kinks. That's right. That's
and
right.
Yeah, and make sure it is viable, because there are plenty of people that have launched stuff, product, services, or whatever, where you think that's, a great idea for it's going to take off, and it, for whatever reason, it doesn't. And then you've like sunk all this money into it, and you're like, oh.
Sure. And it's not the same as just asking someone's opinion, right? Just asking someone's opinion. It's still just an opinion until they have something that they can touch, feel, somehow understanding what that product or service is. You can't really get the true feedback. So that's where that, minimal viable product, how do you create just the minimum, possible that I can provide this service or product to the customer so that they can see it, touch it, feel it, understand what the value is of that product. For sure.
I love that. And it's funny enough, you don't really think about that when it comes to services. You think about that when like testing products. But no, it makes total sense. And you can apply that to any business.
That's right. Definitely.
Awesome. Any last tip before we end off, Jason?
I think those are just some good, simple ones for the smaller businesses. Like I said, lean manufacturing and the Toyota production system, there's a lot to talk about there.
I'm sure.
But I mean, I think it gets more, you really need to pare it down when you're talking about a small business.
Yeah.
And find the things that really make sense for them.
Well, I think that was super helpful. I mean, we all want to level out our workload and not feel overwhelmed, and just making small improvements and testing the market. I mean, they are definitely things that will drive growth and profitability. So thank you for those great tips.
Of course. No problem. Enjoyed talking with you about them.
Perfect. And how can people find you?
The best way is to go to my website. So my website is EHIP Consulting, so EHIIP Consulting.com. On there, you can connect with me by setting up time to talk with me on my calendar. You can connect with all my social media platforms, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. So however you choose to connect with me, feel free to do that, please.
All right, perfect. And I know I just downloaded a free guide, which I haven't delved into yet, but I definitely will. I understand you had something for our listeners as well.
Yeah. So, so the free guide that you mentioned, if you go to my website, you can download that. It's called Should I Start a Lean Journey? And it's really geared towards business owners or executives to kind of give you guys some thought points as to why lean might be right for you within the business. And then your listeners can go to a very specific page that'll make it a lot easier for you guys to download the guide or to connect with me. So it's the same website, ehipconsulting.com, and then just go /SBG for smooth business growth. So
perfect. Awesome.
Right.
And I'll obviously have those links on my show notes and all that good stuff.
Excellent.
All right. So thanks so much. So that is this week's 50-minute cruise to move the needle in your business. I know it goes by fast. And thank you again, Jason, for those awesome lean tips so we can improve our business and grow.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay, for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Awesome. So guys, if you are looking to achieve faster growth through content marketing, whether it's blogs, videos, podcasts, social, or email, look no further than smoothbusinessgrowth.com. So have a profitable and productive week, and may the wins always be at your back.